Hello and welcome. Let's take a good posture, open, best posture of the day, Wonder Woman, Superman, superhero of your choice posture, and then relax it so it's not rigid. Take a good breath, jingle, jangle, wangle around, and give it away with a bow. So we just bow up and down. We're connecting things. We'll get into it another time. Today I want to talk about a question I get and you get and we all get a lot, which is, if the whole world is going to hell, what the hell do I do? If the whole world is going to hell, should we be hopeless? Should we just get the most we can out of life and die? Should we have children? Is it immoral to have children in a world that's going into hell in a handbasket? Should we work really hard to try to save the whole world? What should we do? So that's a nice little question. Thanks. My general feeling here is that it's good to examine our assumptions to begin with. So is the world going to hell? Well, aspects of it certainly are. Climate change is farther along and moving faster than any scientist ever could have predicted. All scientists agree on climate change. What they don't agree on is how fast is it moving, and almost every new study shows that it's happened exponentially faster, not kind of logically faster. It's not speeding up on a straight line, it's speeding up, like a hockey stick. It's just going straight up. So, and there's other ways in which the world is messed up, right? We still have rampant racism, sexism, abuse, pedophilia, whatever. Not whatever in the sense that we don't care, but whatever in the sense that that is a long, long list and we could go into it. Sex trafficking, wars. But, Steven Pinker and others have come out with books showing that overall the signs for the world are fantastic. This is actually one of the safest times in terms of war, in terms of health, in terms of happiness, all over the world. So, there's this whole tug. Are things good? Should we be hopeful? Are things bad? Should we be despondent? And the answer, both from a Buddhist point of view and from a journalism point of view, is to look at truth and to examine our assumptions. So, yes, the world is going to hell. We are in the sixth extinction. Insects, birds, every form of life is struggling, and that is real. The glaciers are melting so fast that billions of people in India and China alone won't have drinking water. You can imagine what would happen when billions of people don't have drinking water. They will be desperate. They will move. They will go to war. They will do anything they need to do to protect their families to get a drink. So yeah, there's a lot of serious stuff, serious challenges. A quote that really helped me in my life was from Yvon Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia, a company that is a small giant. And I've done videos and podcasts, I think, around small giants. I have a series of Bo Burlingham interviews with the author that we have yet to get up, but we will get them up at some point. And so a small giant company is a company that is staying small enough to keep its integrity, but is a giant in terms of its effect on our world. So instead of selling out, trying to get big and losing its integrity, they keep a certain amount of control. And these companies can get huge. New York Times is still family owned, even if it's on the stock market. Stanley, family controlled. So almost any company you look at, if it's a natural products company, like a food, something you might buy in a grocery store, they're almost always family owned or independent or have control. Elephant is independent. So Patagonia, this amazing company that, say, basically invented or reinvented organic cotton in the 90s, that sold a pair of underwear without packaging, just with a rubber band, and it outsold all those underwear competitors who were putting them in fancy cardboard boxes or plastic. So, they've done a lot. They donate. They started 1% for the planet. The ripples of what Patagonia has done, they fund documentaries, are epic. And they create great clothing. They fix them. They're called Patagucci, but that points not so much to how expensive they are, and they are expensive, but to the notion, as Yvon Chouinard says, you buy something and you should be able to have it for life, basically, instead of just this sort of fast fashion, consumptive, bored, entertainment searching behavior that we get into in America when we fall prey, when we get sickened by all the ads. And I mean, like, the ads are like a virus, and when they get into us, we get sickened. Our immune system gets weaker, and we start buying into it, no pun intended. So Yvon Chouinard, big lead up there, has a quote that says, "The whole world may be totally effed and going to hell, but I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and work as hard as I can to save what I can." And to me, that's everything. That's why I'm vegan. That's why I hate plastic. That's why I bicycle. You know, me bicycling probably saves tons of carbon every year. Does that matter? Not really. You know, we have a far bigger problem. But imagine if every single person on the planet today decided to carpool, you know, offset their flights, bicycle, walk, you know, electric car, solar, energy. The whole world would change. Is solar perfect? Is any of what I just mentioned perfect? No. But I think it's safe to say that perfection is not attainable. What is attainable is little actions. That's why we call Elephant the mindful life. We're about the mindful life. So if we live mindfully, which is a really boring word for joyfully, we can actually care about every little thing. So, you know, from the vegan point of view, my being vegan may not save all the animals. There's billions of animals, literally billions. I think more animals are killed every year than all humans have been killed in all the wars ever. And, you know, they're tortured their whole life along the way. And you say, oh, what about small farms? But 99% of the meat you're eating and the dairy you're eating does not come from those idyllic small farms. And even most small farms still send their animals to slaughterhouses, et cetera, et cetera. So without going too far down that tortured rabbit hole, my veganism matters to the, say, 25 or 200 animals that I don't kill or don't torture a year. So every little piece, and if you're not vegan, respect. It's all good. It's not about being vegan or not. It's about every little piece of what we do saves that little piece. So if we all in our lives can save a little piece in our different ways, and if we can challenge ourselves, take responsibility to challenge ourselves, and we're going to have another podcast or video related to this about shaming. If we actually, you know, someone can't shame you if you take responsibility for your misdeed. It's not a sin. We don't need this heavy moralism. But we all do things that are bad in the sense that they hurt other people, they hurt the planet, they hurt animals, and we shouldn't want to do bad things. And I think that's okay to point out to one another, not in an aggressive way, ever. It just makes everything toxic, but in a, you know, I know when I was a child, I was raised by teachers and parents who certainly told me what not to do, not just what to do. So if we all, like Yvon Chouinard, face the facts of how hard and how painful things are, how many species are going to go extinct, that climate change is irreversible at this point. If we created no more carbon ever, if we were perfect, climate change would still speed up and advance for the next 50, 100, 200 years. We are effed. So the first approach when anything challenging is happening in your life, are you okay there? We're good? Is to, I'm just checking with Vanessa, I'm supposed to thank our sponsor, Clean Canteen. But that points to the mindful life, to what I was talking about. So the text on here, which I wrote, is the mindful life ain't about the next moment. It's about this one. It's about prioritizing the fundamental joys of life. And it goes through all these mindful things you can do. One of them, obviously, is not using plastic, single-use, anything that then lasts forever. So obviously we all create plastic, we go to the grocery store or whatever, but there's certain things, low-hanging plastic fruit, that we can avoid getting from now on. One of them is coffee, one of them is tea, one of them is water. We never need plastic for any of those things. So if you want to get our Clean Canteen, you can go to elephantjournal.com/shop. If you want to get a special deal for Elephant subscribers and readers and listeners. You can go to Clean Canteen, their website.com. Just Google them or Ecosia them. I use Ecosia, which is a green Google. And the discount code is ELE, like elephant, ELE30. And you get 30% off one order. So whether your order is one thing or a million things, you get 30% off. Pretty good deal for elephant people. So back to our main program. So the first step when you have a challenge in your life is to look at it, face the music. Like the Michael Jackson song, Look the Man in the Mirror. Interesting mentioning Michael Jackson and his particular position in our moral world, but we have to look ourselves in the mirror. We have to face the facts. So from a journalism point of view, we have to look at climate change or whatever. When I was in foreclosure, I bought a house, I had $500 in my account. I was confident, I was forward looking. I didn't fall into positivity or false hope. I didn't fall into depression that I couldn't do it. I was like, I can figure this out. And that's basically, not that I was so wise or anything, it was stressful, it was hard going into foreclosure, but I thought I could get through it, and I thought I could figure it out. And a lot of figuring it out is asking people for advice, finding mentors, community. So that's the basic pitch of what I want to say is, whether it's climate change, or your house is going into foreclosure, or you're heartbroken because you got dumped, or you have an awful disease or injury, and you don't know how to go about life. You can't feel hopeless or depressed because honestly it doesn't help. It doesn't help you, it doesn't help anything, and it's not even accurate. It's totally okay to feel that way, but that's a very different thing than saying you should feel that way and you should keep feeling that way. It's totally valid to feel helpless and hopeless and depressed, but we got to get ourselves out of it. We have to rouse our inherent confidence, which is already inside of you. In Buddhism, we would call, or Shambhala, we would call that ashe, genuine heart confidence. And you can rouse it very simply by taking a good posture and a good breath and letting go. And that works. It doesn't solve your whole life. If it doesn't, then you can do it again. You can take a good posture. You can think about your problem. You can breathe it in instead of trying to push away. And then breathe out. That's basically the Buddhist practice of meditation, or ashe practice, confidence building practice. You'll notice that when you're going through something, you might sigh. A sigh is basically a natural way of doing that, getting through your nervousness or your fear. The other extreme is positivity. We have lots of videos and podcasts about that, but positivity, false hope, is not your friend. Being positive, being confident is your friend, but positivity is basically pretending the problem doesn't exist. It's rocking back and forth, holding your knees up into your head and saying, everything will be okay, everything will be okay, everything will be okay, everything will be okay. Positivity, while you may enjoy The Secret, or you may think it's a positive thing, because literally the word positive is in it, is false. Lies don't need to be our friend. And you could say, well, it's not lies, it's hope. You're just creating a new reality. There's power to that, but it's kind of kindergarten spirituality. We can actually create a new reality from our actual reality. So however hard things are, we can face the facts. We can say, okay, Vanessa and I got in a big fight. I have to look at that fight, not pretend it didn't happen. I think a true friend would never feel good about forgiving a bad fight, or she couldn't even apologize to me if I was like, oh, nothing happened, everything was great. You have to start with a hard reality and then go to a better, more constructive reality. So with climate change, a lot of animals, a lot of insects, a lot of the world is going to be fundamentally altered and or killed or destroyed. We have to face that fact. Now, what can we do about it? We can all do small things. We can demand big things from governments and corporations. What can we do about it? Like FDR in World War II didn't say, you know what, the Nazis will be fine, everything's fine, positivity, just wish Hitler away, everything will be fine. He said, no, We're going to train our military, which doesn't exist. We had one of the world's smallest militaries at the time. We're going to train them with broomsticks. We're going to do whatever we have to do. We're going to meet with the automakers. We're going to order them to make tanks and airplanes. We're going to go at this with everything we got. And that's what we have to do with climate change. That's what you have to do if your house goes into foreclosure. So you just have to face the facts, breathe deep, and move forward. So no matter how hopeless things are, we're going to wake up in the morning and do our best to save one little piece. And we're not going to fall into the twin booby traps that are positivity on the one hand and nihilism or hopelessness or depression on the other hand. And by depression, I don't mean clinical depression. I mean sort of solidifying our fear or sadness. And we all do it. Again, it doesn't help to like guilt trip yourself about it, but we have to not honor it, not respect it. You got to be a little troublemaking with your own solidity. Thank you very much, and support Clean Canteen, and they will continue to support us, and we will continue to support you, and you will continue to support other people. Bowing out. Thank you. P.S. Postscript. A couple little notes and a great quote. So, also from Yvon Chouinard, he says, there's no difference between a pessimist who says, it's all over, don't bother trying to do anything, forget about voting, it won't make a difference, on the one hand, and an optimist who says, relax, everything is going to turn out fine. Either way, the results are the same. Nothing gets done. I love that. And the final point I wanted to make is, whenever you're feeling hopeless or helpless, it really helps to get off the TV, off the computer, off the phone, and get some books. Because there's something about being able to focus and relax with one book. And the book shouldn't just be any old book. The book should be mentors. Anything you have gone through is likely that other human beings have gone through it and figured it out. So I like to say, okay, I have a big challenge right now. How would Jane Goodall have handled this? How would Eleanor Roosevelt have handled this? How would Maya Angelou have handled this? How would Elie Wiesel have handled this? There are people who have gone through far more than I ever have, and yet in my little worldview, just like you, my problems seem like the biggest problems in the world sometimes, right? So you look at Jane Goodall. She was a cute little blonde girl in England, and that's how everyone viewed her, as this cute, harmless little, helpless little blonde girl. And she said, I don't care how you view me. I'm going to Africa, which at the time was unheard of, and I'm going to work with monkeys. Sounded insane. And, you know, the rampant sexism at the time. You think you have sexism now? Back in the 60s or whenever this was, far, far, far worse. So she made it happen, obviously. At 85 years old, she's traveling the world 300 days a year because she feels the urgency of having to serve. So if you don't feel that urgency, if I don't feel that urgency, we are not plugged into reality. And if we are not plugged into reality, we can never feel true joy. If we aren't plugged into reality, we can't serve. And through service, as Trungpa Rinpoche says in Buddhism, service is the ultimate smile. So when in doubt, look toward mentors. How did they figure out their thing? What did they do? Did they give up? And that's your postscript. Finally, I'd like to ask, if you do like this, please, if you're on the podcast, you can review, you can share. It really helps. We're indie media. We need all the help from our community that you are willing to give. And again, we'll get bigger and we can get beyond the choir if you do that. And if you're watching the video, you can share, like, subscribe. So thank you so much, and see you next time.